Three, two, one. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday night Bible study class. My name is Reverend Brian, and we have taken some time off. We have not been on video, so if you were looking for us, it's not that you couldn't find us, it's that we had taken some time off, and the reason is, if you remember, we were in a super secret location. And we have since moved from that super secret location, and we are now holding our Bible study class in a local beautiful church called Harvard Park Baptist Church and Community Center. And I got to tell you, we are holding it in the community center. This is awesome. For any of you that live around this area, you should stop in here. This is, for a little neighborhood church and a community center, this is awesome. So anyway, that's our new home. It's beautiful. They have made us feel very comfortable here. And some of the people in our Bible study class do go to this church. For those of you that go to the church, to the Harvard Park Baptist Church and Community Center, please feel free to stop in. We would love to have the people from this church come in and visit us at our Bible study class. And to the pastor and his wife, Gary Sheets, we would like to say thank you very much for joining, for inviting us and making us feel welcome. Our new home feels like a home. It does not feel like a place to meet, and we want to thank you for that. And we do look forward to the people in the church stopping by. Now, for those of you that have been following us for a while, I want to start by saying all of our Bible study class and the other shows that we do are all produced by the Prayer Box Ministry, which is who we are. If you'd like to know anything about us, go check us out on the internet, prayerboxministry.org. We have been going through the Bible chapter by chapter, book by book. We are currently on Psalms 51 through 100, actually. We took it up. We decided to do it in 3 different bites because if you cover a psalm or 2 a night, I mean, that's 3 years just in Psalms. So we did 1 Kings. Now we're doing the second part of Psalms. Then after we leave this one, I think we go to 2 Kings is where we go next, or maybe it's the book after. I don't remember. So anyway, tonight we're going to, if you want to get your Bible and follow along with us, we're going to be in Psalms 55. Now I want to set this up just a little bit. We started 3 Psalms ago. 55 minus 3 would be 52. We started a series. There is a series of 4 Psalms right in a row. 52, 53, 54, 55. This is the last in that series. And I guess the easy way to say it is there's kind of a dual story going on in these 4 Psalms. On the one side, there's the story of what is actually going on. And David is a psalmist, and he's telling us a story, like one is a battle, one is people are after him, one is his son. There's a story going on, and you can follow the story very easily. On the other hand, there's a biblical story. And these 4 Psalms together are painting a picture of Antichrist and what he's going to look like and how he's going to behave when he finally does appear. Now this is the last of the Psalms. Now the last one we did, Psalm 54, was a short psalm, but it had a lot of content. This one is not a short psalm, and we may not get done with it tonight. Now this one doesn't have so much to do with Antichrist. If you really want to see, you should probably go back and do 52 and 53. There was a lot of content there, and it tends to be in the first part of the psalm. Now, Psalm 55. Trust in God concerning the treachery of friends is the title on this. Now we're going to find in this psalm that David is going to cry out. Well, before I get started, I should tell you this. Another thing that these Psalms all have in common is they are basically broken down into three parts. There is the problem in the first part. Then there's prayer to God for justice. Notice it doesn't say help or forgiveness, it says justice. And then at the end, the psalmist is praying for and giving thanks to God for coming in and saving him. So the easy way to remember this, those three, is the old saying that they used to use when they talked about prayer. Pray, believe, pray to receive. Okay, so now in Psalm 55, David is going to have problems. His friends have become treacherous towards him. If I remember right, we also do a blog, and I blogged on this last week. If I remember right, this is the time when Absalom, his son, tries to overthrow David and his kingdom. And David does not want to kill him, and David almost gets killed. But he and his trusted followers leave town, and he writes this psalm when he's out in the wilderness. And not only did Absalom leave him, but his trusted ally, and I can't remember the guy's name, joins the part with Absalom. And they have joined forces to overthrow David. And this is why David is so... Now remember, David is a man of blood. Remember, he couldn't build a temple because God said he had blood on his hand. But as we go through this, you'll see how torn he is because he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to go kill his son. He doesn't want to kill his trusted, he doesn't even want to battle. At one point he says, if I could, I would take wings and just fly away and stay away. So if someone would start with verse 1, Psalm 55, and just start, anybody.
Give ear to my prayer, O God, and do not hide yourself from my supplication. Attend to me and hear me. I am restless in my complaint and moan noisily.
Okay, hang on just a minute. So in the first two verses, here's what I hear. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. David is spent 2 verses telling God, listen to me, don't ignore me. Attend to me, hear me. I'm complaining, I'm moaning. Don't ignore me. David has no problem being the squeaky wheel. Go ahead.
Because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked, for they bring down trouble upon me, and in wrath they hate me. My heart is severely
Okay,
pained.
so hang on a minute. So they. Now he still hasn't defined who his enemy is. But he says because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked. For they bring down trouble upon me, and in wrath they hate me. I wonder who he's talking about. Go ahead.
My heart is severely pained within me.
Okay, stop. There's a key. There's a key of who he's talking about. If a man of war, have you ever seen a movie about Patton or General Douglas MacArthur or any of them? They're getting ready to go to battle. Their heart never pains within them. They're anxious for the battle. They're warriors. That's what they do. Okay? It's like if you're a salesman and somebody says, go sell them something, you don't worry about it. You go do it because that's what you do. So when a warrior says, my heart troubles me, it's his son. He doesn't want to go kill his son. My heart is severely pained within me, and the terrors of death have fallen upon me. What he's saying here is, I don't want to kill my son. And the terror, if it comes down to him and me, I'm worried it's going to be me, because I can't kill him. That's the clue that it's Absalom we're talking about here. Okay? Go ahead.
Fearfulness and trembling have come upon me, and horror has overwhelmed me.
Okay, that repeats the feeling that he just had.
So I said, oh, that I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and be at rest.
Okay, does that sound like a warrior to you?
No,
That doesn't sound, that sounds like somebody running from a battle. That sounds like a coward.
wee.
But yet we know that David was fearless. He was a warrior. He was a man after God's own heart. God doesn't run away from a battle. So here, these 2 or 3 verses are confirming for us that it is Absalom. And when he says they, he's talking about Absalom and his trusted friend and confidant that was helping David and his government. So it's they that are the enemy. And he doesn't want to fight him. He wants to grow wings and fly away. Go ahead.
Indeed, I would wander far off and remain in the wilderness. I would hasten my escape from the windy storm and tempest. Destroy, O Lord, and divide their tongues.
Okay, stop. Okay, that's the end of the first part. Remember, there's 3 parts here. Now, David has explained the problem. His heart is torn up. He doesn't want to kill his son. He doesn't want to kill his best friend. He would rather just fly away. You know, he said, so these guys are my enemies. They are coming after me. They're trying to kill me. They're trying to take my kingdom. And I would rather just fly away and not have to deal with this. So that's the end of that part. Now we're going to start the second part where he asks for justice. Now, before I get started, I want to explain something. When we read the Psalms, and actually all of the Old Testament, when the prophets or God or anybody talks in the Old Testament, it is very common to be talking about violence, death, kill, destroy, annihilate, eliminate. That's common. So in the Psalms, when it says that they're looking for justice, we're about to get a picture of what David's idea of justice is. And remember, this is the guy that just said, I'd rather have wings and fly away. But then now he's going to pray to God, and he's going to say, okay, I don't want to do this, but this needs to be done, God. Please take care of this. And here's how I want it to be done. And the first verse he says is, destroy, O Lord, and divide their tongues. Okay, divide their tongues. Do you know what that means?
Would it mean to cause them to not be able to speak to one another? Like,
Close. It means that the guy that left David was his advisor. So what these guys would do is they would look at a situation and they would say, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it. What David is saying is, because Absalom's going to rely on this guy, and David is saying, Lord, come in between that, so that when he talks to him, what he's doing is talking nonsense. So he does something really stupid. Don't let it be good counsel. Okay? Go ahead.
For I have seen violence and strife in the city. Day and night they go around it on its walls. Iniquity and trouble are also in the midst of it. Destruction is in its midst. Oppression and deceit do not depart from its
Okay.
streets.
Okay. Now this is where we see a part of the Antichrist and the situation that's going to be when Antichrist comes. Let's break that down and take that down just a little bit at a time. Now remember, when Antichrist finally turns on Israel, 3.5 years into the tribulation, and we know this from the book of the Revelation, when that happens, it's going to be the rest of the world against Israel, led by Antichrist, okay? So here he's saying, divide their tongues. Don't let them be together, separate them. For I have seen violence and strife in the city. That means they're already in the city, fighting. Day and night they go around it on its walls. Now remember, those walls were wide enough to drive on. So Antichrist is going around the city. They're circling the city. Inequity and trouble are also in the midst of it. In the midst of what? In the midst of the enemy.
And this,
Inequity and trouble. Destruction is in its midst. Where do those things come from? Inequity, trouble, destruction, oppression, violence, strife. Where does that all come from?
Satan.
Very good. And who is Antichrist?
Satan.
Exactly. That's how we know this is Antichrist. That's who we're describing. Remember I told you in the beginning, we got the story running of what's going on with David and Absalom. Now we have a message coming from God that's saying, okay, this is part of the story. Let me remind you the saying that I always tell you when we're in the Old Testament. The Old Testament is an outward and visible sign of a spiritual truth that is repeated in the New Testament. The spiritual truth here that we know of is this is what Antichrist is going to be like. This is what's going to happen. All of this is from Satan. And this is all talking about, now right now he's talking about the battle he's having with Absalom and his advisor.
Where does Absalom come in?
We covered that in the beginning. We don't know for sure. We believe it's Absalom, his son,
David's son?
David's son.
Okay. Okay.
So what we know is David right now is dealing with violence, strife, inequity, trouble, destruction, oppression, deceit. All from Satan. All right? This is the key spiritual truth. Right here. Go ahead.
For it is not an enemy who reproaches me, then I could bear it.
Okay, stop. There's another clue. If it were another country or another king or another enemy, David says, it's not an enemy who reproaches me. If it was an enemy, I'd just go out and kill him. I'm a warrior. That's what I do. That's another clue. This is Absalom we're talking about. Okay? Anybody else that wouldn't bother David at all? Go ahead.
Nor is it one who hates me, who has exalted himself against me. Then I could hide from him. But it was you, a man my equal.
Okay, stop. So who would be an equal to David? No other man in the kingdom except number one son,
Absalom.
who would be king.
Absalom.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Now David is saying it's not an enemy, it's not another man, but it was you, a man of my equal. Go ahead. We're going to get another clue. Pay attention.
My companion and my acquaintance.
Stop. Okay. Some people think that's the same guy. It's not. He's talking about two different guys. My companion is Absalom. My acquaintance is his advisor in his government.
Who's advisor?
I can't remember his name. If I read my notes down here, I can find it.
Is it Absalom's advisor or David's?
No, it's
advisor?
David's. Okay, it's David's advisor, and I've got his name here. It's Ahithophel. Ahithophel. Ahithophel.
Where are you seeing that?
In the notes in my Bible.
Oh, okay.
Write it down. A-H-I-T-H O-P-H-E-L.
O-P-H.
And if you want to know where you can find him at, listen to me. If you want to know where you can find him at, look in 2 Samuel, verses 15 to 18.
15 through
18.
18. 2 Samuel verses 15 through 18?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and that's David's advisor.
That's David's advisor who jumps ship and joins Absalom to overthrow David. Any other questions?
No. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, go ahead.
We took sweet counsel together
Okay,
and
stop. Who would a king have counsel with?
his advisor,
Exactly. And the king to be, his son. Go ahead.
and walked to the house of God in the throng. Let death seize them.
Okay. Notice he doesn't say, let me kill them. Let my army kill them. Doesn't say that. It says, let death seize them. The only way death can seize somebody would be through natural causes or something that God takes care of. David's saying, these people need to be paid for, but I can't do it. Go ahead.
Let them go down alive into hell.
Okay. Now think about this for a second. We have a saying today that says, go to hell, right? Here David is saying, this is bad. Let them go to hell alive for the treachery that they've done. Now remember, I told you that in the Old Testament, justice meant payback. And David right now is praying to God for payback. The mistake that a lot of people make today, and I've known several, believe that they can pray this type of prayer to God and God will answer. The difference between David praying this and us praying this is grace. They didn't have grace back then. They didn't have the Holy Spirit back then. They had the law and they had justice. So for them to pray this is perfectly understandable. Jesus tells us to pray for our enemies. Turn them over to God and let God deal with them. Okay? Go ahead.
For wickedness is in their dwellings and among them. As for me,
Okay, stop. Now this is, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
But, okay, so remember I said we were 3 parts. We just finished the second part. The first part was, God, here's my problem. Okay? The second part was, and here's how I want you to deal with that problem. Now we're going to start the third part is, thank you for handling this for me, God. Now the interesting thing here, and I remember now when I blogged this, I remember saying in there that this is a beautiful psalm about faith. And you don't think it's about faith yet. But remember, pray, believe, expect to receive. Right? David has prayed.
I'm sorry.
He's brought his problem. He's asked God to deal with it. And now he's going to spend the next however many verses thanking God for dealing with this. God hasn't done anything yet.
Got it. I'm in Bible study.
What?
Okay,
Now remember, as David is doing this, God has not answered a prayer yet. But by reading what he's about to write, you would know that. This is a good lesson for us on how to pray. And you were asking before class about prayer. I don't know if you know this or not, but when you pray, you should always start with praise.
Mm-hmm.
You do know that.
You follow, yeah, you're supposed to follow the example of the Lord's Prayer, right? Our Father who art in heaven, would be.
I have a real problem with recited prayers, okay?
Well.
What I'm saying is,
I understand. You have to praise God first.
okay, why do you have to do that?
To get his attention. It's like burning incense. He
No,
likes
that's-
it.
Praise brings the glory of God down.
Okay.
And without the glory of God, there is no prayer. Just off, count to 5, hit it again. For those of you on Facebook, we are recording also for our website. We have a different camera going for that, and somebody is, we can only record that on our site in 25-minute increments.